guys, I'm Si. Welcome to Cardiff City World, and we're here to rate the players for this season. It's going to be a fun time. I'm delighted to be here, Ace Podcast Nation headquarters, with Matthew Angel, the superstar, and Big Rob Boyle.
I'm really upset that I'm literally a second name now being announced, but
it's
an absolute pleasure. Welcome to the Rob Boyle I work now. Joking. Thank you, mate. Pleasure. Thank you so much.
It's intentional, mate.
As you
Purposely done it to irritate you.
You do you. Go on. Do your thing.
So, we're just a quick video. The season's coming to an end, so we got to find different bits of content to put out to make sure that we do 7 days a week, Cardiff City World, for the fans, by the fans. And we're going to go through the Cardiff City squad for this season. We're going to give them a little rating. We're going to talk about this season.
Don't it make you sick though it's coming to an end?
It does. I flipping hate the summer, mate. Hate it. No football. It's depressing. So, Ethan Howworth came in January. Rob, you go first. Like, out of 10, how would you rate him? And what is your overall thoughts been on Ethan?
Ooh, 7. Yeah, I go 7. I think he's been a very, very solid keeper. Excuse me, sorry. He's had mistakes in him, which he showed a couple of weeks ago. But I think he's a very solid keeper, and I think that he will do a good job going forward, personally.
Okay, for the interest of like speed and the amount of players, I'm going to go. So I'll go Jack Alnwick for you, mate. Out of 10, and overall thoughts on his season?
I'd probably say 7 out of 10 for Jack as well. I think he's been a bit unfortunate, really, in the issues we had with Runnison. With Bullet obviously dropping Alnwick, I didn't really think he deserved to be dropped.
Yeah.
For Runnison to come in, and then when he come back into the side, then I think he showed that he's a decent keeper at that level. So yeah, I'd say a solid 7 out of 10.
Okay. I'll do Runnison. 2 out of 10. Very poor. I don't really understand why we signed him anyway. I think it didn't make sense, like why they signed him. He was very, very poor. And then when he put him in the first team, it didn't make sense because Alnwick was doing well. He had that one ropey game, didn't he, against Norwich? But I would argue, as I did at the time, that the goals were down to, I think it was Collins at the back post, completely switches off as the ball comes across. But Runnison, when he did come in, was like the type of keeper which just gives you a heart attack. He was, every time the ball went near him, you thought it was either going in or he was going to give it away, or it was just very poor.
I wouldn't trust him to take my bins out of all day.
Didn't he play with Bullet out in Turkey, though? I'm sure he had
I've got a feeling that might have been the case, yeah. Mark McGuinness, Rob.
Oh, class. I think he's
come of age.
Yeah, come for the man, come for the McGuinness. I think solid 8. Unfortunate injuries cut him short this season. I think future captain, whether it be with Cardiff or another club, I'm not too sure. Mm-hmm. I think he's a very, very good footballer, and although a lot of fans weren't happy with him out on loan last season, I think it's done him the world of good.
Yeah,
I think he's made him a man, made him a footballer, a proper professional footballer, personally.
Yeah,
so and I look forward to seeing what he can do next season.
I wouldn't be surprised if Premier League club comes in for him.
Well, he's 22, 23 years of age.
Perfect profile.
Yeah, he's clearly a very talented boy.
But we'll talk about the transfer side of things in another video. But you got the joy, mate, of talking about Nathaniel Phillips.
Oh, you
Nathaniel Phillips, yeah. And, there's another video that I've got coming out, which I'll share with you coming up. Just
long watch.
Yeah, talk a little bit more about it in a bit more detail. But he's been absolutely rock solid for me since he'd come in. If we could start a crowdfunding page or whatever, so we could pay so much of his wages, I think.
Told you, you get on the bike back and raise that money again. You don't have to do it for that.
I'd say 9 out of 10. He's been outstanding for us, really.
Yeah.
Good man. Dimitri Gutas. If you'd asked me a month ago I would have given him probably a solid 7 or 8 out of 10. This month, I think he has been a bit rocky, and I think a bit earlier in the season, at the start, he took a bit of time to adapt, and I think that's fair. And as soon as the manager switched him and McGuinness sides, he seemed to really settle, and I think he's been very, very good, reliable, picked up a couple of goals as well. I would give him a 6.5. 6.5, maybe just about. But I think that's more. I think he'll settle in to be a solid 7, 8 next year. I think it's
going to do his confidence the world of good playing alongside Phillips and the experience.
I think if McGuinness stays, we might see a 3. I'm going to save the next one for him for a reason. So Jamali Collins.
Ooh, that's a good one, because those of you who've watched the Flower Hour over the last few months, I've not been his biggest fan. However, I think that he stepped up over the last couple of months. Unfortunately, he's obviously injured again. But pound for pound, I will go with a 5. I know it's obviously a short one, so apologies, guys, but I read a statistic a few months back about he's had the most successful tackles or something like that. And the reason being, I think personally, is because people see him as a weak link when they come against Cardiff. They know, they do their homework, that, you're going to, with all due respect, we're going to attack as a fullback, Perry and G, or Jamal Collins. You're going to go after Collins, aren't you? Yeah. So he didn't get called up for the AFCON, which says a lot, I think, as well. I think he's a decent footballer, but I don't think he's good enough personally for me. So he's a 5.
Just quickly on him, I think he's come back from a really serious injury. I thought he started the season a bit nervous, got a bit better. Then he had a rocky spell. Then he got dropped. And then I think since he come back in the side after Wilson Esperan got injured, I think he's been a lot better.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But then a 5 out of 10 is just okay, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's like
he's
average.
Right. I think, I'm sorry to peel on some of those chips now, but I think he's better than Wilson Esperan at left back, personally.
Well, we'll see now. What does Angel think of? What does the superstar think of Josh Wilson Esperan?
Difficult one for me, because I don't think we've seen enough of him. Really consistently, I think he played the odd game at left back and left wing back. I've liked certain things, and again, his work-ons for him. He's only a youngster, so I think I'd say a 6 out of 10. Really, he was dangerous going forward. But yeah,
that's interesting, because you thought Collins has been better than Esperant, but you gave him a 6 and you gave Collins a 5.
Yeah, but he talks shit and I don't.
Yeah, but do you think, I think Wilson Esperant can't defend you, I don't think. I think he's more of a left winger.
I've given him that 6 out of 10 because he's had that, he's played left back and he can play left wing back, so perhaps the 2 positions.
The versatility,
just giving him that extra bit of credit, perhaps.
It's your time, H. You do you, but.
Next up, Perry NG. A solid, I'm going to give him an 8.5 out of 10. It would have been a 9 out of 10 in fairness, but I think these last month has been the first time where he's looked infallible. Like before that, he just looked absolutely immense. In my opinion, he is the joint best right back in the championship with Walker Peters. Yeah. Absolutely superb, and we'll be very, 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 very lucky if we see him in a Cardiff City shirt next year. Marlon Romeo. Romeo Dunn.
Is that for me?
Yeah. It's a difficult one because he hasn't played a lot.
It is a difficult one, mate. And the thing is, I don't think he does a lot wrong when he plays. When you've got...
He's just got big shoes to fill, hasn't he?
He has. And I think when you've got players who've been played on the right wing in front of him, which obviously, of course, we'll get to, doesn't help matters, does it? If he's got a better right winger in front of him, which has been occasion this season quite a bit. I think he does better. I don't think he's personally, in my opinion, he's championship material. He's a good footballer, but I think personally he's top half a League One footballer, personally.
I think he's a good squad player to have because he can play right back, play centre back, play
look, there's no doubt about it.
Midfield as well.
100%. Look, I'm not trying to poo-poo him. He's not a crap footballer by any stretch of imagination, but
if we want to tick on.
Yeah, if Cardiff have aspirations next season to tease and tickle the balls of the playoffs, then no.
They got to move.
Does that type of player move on then, like Romeo and Conte's brought in? And then
that's what I'm saying. That'd be a change of the guard for me. That's who I'd want to step in. If Perry MG was to leave or move on, I'd want Conte to come in instead of him because I just think already from what I've seen, you boys know I watch the under-21s quite a bit. I think Conte is way ahead of where Romeo is, given his age, etc. I
agree with you in certain aspects, but I think if we've got ambitions of hitting our playoffs, I think perhaps we needed somebody who's a bit more recognised, a bit more experienced, and have Conte there as a bit of a backup.
Well, should have 3 right backs then?
Conte
Romeo would let Romeo go type of thing.
Oh yeah, so yeah, that's fine. Yeah, okay.
Ryan Wintle.
I'll go 6 out of 10. Nothing
generous.
Nothing flashy.
Go on.
I don't mind him. He works hard. I just think sometimes he plays in the wrong type of setup. And you can only go out and do what you can.
Yeah, and at the end of it, it's not his fault that the manager picks him. So I accept he hasn't been. He's had 1 or 2 really bad games, but he's also had 1 or 2 really good games. I think 6 is probably fair. Manu side office.
No. Before you go on Wintle, come on. I know you're on a time schedule, but Wintle's not helped by having the captaincy. So we've said this before on previous shows. As soon as Wintle has the captaincy, when Rousey or Ramsey, whoever else is captain, is not playing, his performance dips. If Wintle is there and not captain, his performance increases. I'd keep Wintle by a mile, and as long as he doesn't touch a captaincy personally, I give him a 7. But I know it's not my chance, but fuck it.
I would sell him if you can get good money for him, but I wouldn't be devastated if he stayed either. It's one of them.
Okay.
Siopis, mate. I think he is, if not one of the best out-and-out defensive midfielders in the league. I've been genuinely impressed with him. He did have a big dip, but I think the dip came from playing alongside Wintle. Not Wintle's fault, but just that Siopis took it upon himself to try and do the kind of the work of the number 8, if you like, and getting the ball and playing it through, being a bit more ambitious with his passing, which left him a bit exposed and he had opposition. I think, but he's come back from that, and I think Southampton was the most recent game as we record this. So good in that game, and he just cut the amount of times Tanner, playing left back out position, and Siopis just swept up, just covered him every time. I'd give him a 7.5 because he had that dip. If he didn't have that dip, he'd be an 8 for me, and I think he's been one of our best players.
You're being harsh here. I think you're being harsh there. I think if we were Seal, we'd be in a relegation zone.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that, mate.
But you're entitled to your opinion. You may be wrong, but you're entitled to your opinion.
David Turnbull, mate, that's a difficult one. Something just unplugged then. David Turnbull.
So for me?
Yeah. It's a difficult one, isn't it? Because he's coming in January.
5, I think, for the Turnbull.
By your foot.
Still going?
Yeah. Whatever's by your foot with us.
I say 5 for Turnbull. I haven't seen enough of them to warrant anything higher. For me, as I mentioned, to you. Where Wintle, I don't see him no better than Wintle, to be honest with you, right now. He's done a couple of things which is decent.
I think he's been played out of position.
Yeah, I think
perfectly frank.
I agree. I do agree. But what is his position? That's the thing. I think that over the summer now, we need to. If obviously we paid money for him, which we haven't paid money for a player for a bloody long time, so we need to recognise and acknowledge what position is his best position and use it and flourish with it. Because for me, I don't think he is much better than Wintle personally.
I think he offers a lot more.
That's why I give him a 5. Yeah, look, I'm sure he will prove. Look, at the end of the day, I know people mock the SPL as X, Y, and Z, but Celtic and Rangers are decent freaking teams. Like Germany, they ain't mugs like Germany. They're in Europe. They do decent in Europe of late as well. So I feel like I'm eating into so much of your time, so I do apologise.
Yeah, I feel like that as well.
Finishing, no bad.
Right, Joe Rolls, mate, the skipper.
7 out of 10, I think.
Reliable.
Again, depending on who he's, Mr. I would like to say I'd like to see more goals from him, but we could probably say that about every single Cardiff City player this year. But just, set piece, when he hasn't been in the side, I think it shows sometimes we miss them corners and things. But yeah, 7 out of 10, short and sharp for me. But
Aaron Ramsey for me is very difficult to rate because he's injured and he's been injured a lot. I think that initial, 8-10 games he played before he started getting injured, he was outstanding, scored some great goals, dictating the play, setting up everything. Very, very good. And if we could have got that for 20 games of the season, he'd be like an 8.5, 9 out of 10. He was that good. However, you can't ignore the fact that he's been injured for more of the season than he's been fit. So I think you have to give him like a 6. Because he's only played like whatever amount of games he's played. And that's not a reflection on him as a footballer. It's just a reflection on what he's been able to contribute. I'm sure he's contributed a lot off the field, particularly with Ruben Colwell. But from a playing point of view, can't give him more than that, I don't think.
And you moaned at me for waffling on.
And O'Dowda, mate. O'Dowda.
Oh, that's right. 6. Pretty similar response to what you just said about Rambo and fairness, mate. We know he's capable. We know he's a good player, but he's not been there for 80% of the season. So I think that's pretty much says it all.
Yeah. Ruben Colwell, mate.
Do you want to do him? Because I know you're a great fan. You sure?
Yeah,
I'd say 8.5 out of 10. I think some games he's just looked, for me, he's probably, he's up there for player of the year. I'm not sure he'll get it, but, he's within a shout.
In the conversation, isn't he?
Oh, 100%. I think there's been times of the season where we've been crying out for him to have played more. There's times where the manager, we've had a great game, and then the following game the manager hasn't played him. But I think, especially against Southampton, I think it shows what he can do, and I think next year I'm hoping he'll kick on even further and perform even better.
My biggest thing with him is all I would say is we as a team look better with him.
100%.
Romain Sawyers for me, I don't know, has he played a league game? 5.
A couple of soft appearances, mate.
Just a 5, okay.
Move on.
He's going to go on. Mate.
Oh, first give me the other one.
Mate. He's out for the rest of the season now, but how do you assess him? I think this is one of the most difficult players to assess.
It is, mate. Do you know what? I'd give him a 7 because he's...
How many beers you had?
No, do you know what? No, genuinely, it is.
Go on.
Genuinely,
you're entitled to your opinion.
Genuinely, I think he's done all right. Look, I think he's done what's asked of him.
Yeah.
He's definitely not a number 9. We can all agree on that. He's not a striker by a million miles.
No.
He's not a goal scorer.
Not on his own.
He's not a 20-goal season striker. He's not even a 10-goal season striker. but he's a damn sight better on the right wing than some of the other players we will get to in a second. I swear to God, I bet you put it on me as well, wouldn't you?
No.
But I think he's done well. Like,
Okay,
he's done what he needs to do. What's asked of him? He's done the best to his ability.
He works hard. I give him that.
He's a trier.
Josh Bowler, mate.
I'll go 6.5 out of 10. I'm going.
He does some
The Forest fanzine.
He does some good things, and there's some things he can do a lot better. You know, you've shown glimpses of magic, but he hasn't done it on a consistent enough basis for me to warrant his place in the team.
No.
But the manager sees something, and
he's undroppable.
Yeah.
For me, I got Ollie Tanner. Another difficult one because he hasn't played a lot. But when you look at what he's contributed over the season when he has played, scores the winner against Swansea, plays left back brilliantly the other day, just off the top of my head. I don't think he's let anyone down, but he hasn't played. I think I'd be surprised if he's played more than 10 games.
Yeah.
So it's difficult to give him anything over a 6. I'm going to give him 6.5. I'm going to give him that extra half because he scored the winner versus the Jacks. I would have liked to, I said a few times, I would have liked to have seen him get more of an opportunity. I think he's been a bit unfortunate because the manager prefers other players. However, I don't think it helped him that he had to be dropped to the 23s for a little period either. Robert, Carlin Grant.
Carlin Grant, 6. No. Yeah, 6.5 because I'm being kind. He is, for me, the epitome of all fart, no poo. The lad tries his bloody hardest. Do you know what it reminds me of? Is Richard Langley. He tries so damn hard and he does the work, he does the running, X, Y, and Z, but he just got no end product. I know he's done a couple of things, he scored a few goals, etc. We've said before, I said before with other players, God loves a trier, but I just think I wouldn't take, I know this is for a different show, but I wouldn't take him next year personally. But yeah, 6.5 for being a trier.
Interesting. Yeah, weirdly with him is if you go on all the different football websites, they all mark his position as centre forward, not as a winger. So I don't know whether that's a reason why he hasn't maybe scored as many. I don't know. But Callum Robinson, mate.
4 out of 10. No comment.
There we go. Move on. Kian Atete for me. Kian Atete had one outstanding game versus Blackburn in the EFL Cup, where he scored those couple of goals, and those goals were so good that I thought for a second he was going to click. He's clearly got ability, and he's clearly got like that technical ability. He's got goals like that in him, but I think he would benefit from a big long loan to go and play regular.
Wrexham.
Yeah, Wrexham, somewhere in League One would be perfect, mate. Yeah, where he can just play and be himself and learn and be a bit more physical. And then we'll finish off, or not finish off because there's a couple of others. Jeju for you?
4.
Okay.
4 out of 10 would be lower, but he scored and assisted a couple of good goals. So we'll leave it at that, 4.
Ugbo for you, mate.
Ugbo. Was that
for Cardiff, not for Sheffield Wednesday?
They probably have to say 5. Disappointing, yeah.
Came in with a bit of hype, didn't he?
Yeah, and I think he scored a couple of early doors, didn't he? And there was nothing.
He's a knack, didn't he? For
just being in the right place. Yeah, you got it. Spot on. He just a couple of times.
Ironically, that's what he did for Sheffield Wednesday for 3 or 4 games when he first signed for him, was just be in the right place.
Jeju or Ugbo? Both of you.
I'd probably take Ugbo simply because he's got a knack of being in the right place at the right time.
Ugbo's it for me.
I have not seen anything from him. I've been very disappointed with Jeju. And then the final one is Ebo Adams. Went out on loan to Derby and has done exceptionally well at Derby, as I predicted when I went on BBC Radio. and told the Derby fans that if they play him in defensive midfield, he'd do a fantastic job for him at League One level, and he did it. Not to blow my own trumpet, Robert, but maybe I should start being called superstar, and we should demote
There's other things
Matthew to host.
we've called him, like, but
Is it?
Yeah,
So play.
Unfortunately, we've got to finish. Thank you very much, guys. That's our player ratings for the seasons. Drop in the comments if you agree. Give us your ratings, comments. Tell us how right we are. Tell us how wrong we are. We'll be back for another video very soon. That's Matthew. This is Rob. Make sure you check out the Flower Hour Wednesday and Saturdays.
Have a flower.
Jobless.